Everyone, and welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, September 12th at 6:30 p.m. Please stand for our invocation and then remain standing afterwards for a moment of silence.
Let's pray. Our God and Father, thank you for the privilege of life. Thank you for how you bless our lives. Father, you've been with us through so many things, and right now, Father, we just pause to say thank you. We pray about the vision of this community and the direction things go. Father, that your guiding hand will lead every man and woman in this council tonight. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. We bow before you in humility. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Mr. Hardaway, would you lead us in the pledge tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk Treasurer, would you take the roll call, please?
Absolutely. Councilwoman Neal. Here. Councilman Hardaway.
Here.
Councilman Minchuk.
Here.
Councilwoman Uzelak.
Here.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
And Councilman Bella.
Here.
All seven present.
Thank you. Before moving on, I do want to introduce and also welcome Michael Griffin, our interim town manager. Welcome, Mike.
Mr. President, thank you.
Happy to have you here tonight. We have no petitions, communications, acknowledgements, or remonstrations. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher approval for September 12th and the approval of the town council meeting minutes for August 22nd and August 29th.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Uzelak, second by Mr. White for approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing and special committee reports, Budget and Finance, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one question for Trista. Can you give me a balance of the ARP money? Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
No report.
Street Department, Mr. Minchuk.
No report at this time, other than I know the fall letter should be coming out soon, and there will be a schedule for the leaf pickup, so please keep an eye out for that. Hang on to that. It's a very important schedule there.
Thank you. Elections, Public Relations, and Town Beautification, Mrs. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be meeting with Angie on the 18th about the new banners for the town that's coming up. That's the only thing new. And then I'm also going to be meeting with Tracy just to do a couple of drive-arounds to check out some different signs that's going on in the town, to look at the areas and everything. And on October 31st, the town of Merrillville is going to have its annual the trick-or-treat timing, which is going to be between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., and that's on October 31st.
And is that in the form of a motion, Mrs. Neal?
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Neal, second by Mr. Minchuk for approving Halloween trick-or-treat hours from 5:30 to 7:30 on October 31st. Questions or comments?
That's all.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. We'll make sure we get that in the newsletter too then. Environmental Affairs, Mr. White.
Thank you, President. A couple of things I want to talk about in terms of uptick in the virus, obviously, here. I did look at the CDC's recommendation, and it's still saying that it's low in terms of how they categorize. You know, they have it low, then the mid, then the high. And for Lake County, we're still at low. However, when I did other research in the wastewater treatment systems, it spiked big time, because a lot of times people don't know that they even have that virus. And wastewater treatment systems, they pick it up because that's what people feces and urination. So that's in your body. And I'm a urination guy, actually. So, so I would just like to say that I think in the future, ever how this council determines, or the new council determines, I think that we need to start that, some type of monitoring, because then you can react to where you see these spikes at. Right now, we're just looking at certain wastewater treatment plants in Lake County, so all of them don't get it. But those results are reported to the CDC, which helps them make determination how to respond to outbreaks. Say, for instance, like in Marsh neighborhood, it might be a big spike, but in Bella's neighborhood, it's way down. But what that would do is give those that are responsive to it an opportunity to go out there and start trying to find out why is that particular area having that spike. That's pretty much it for Mr. President.
And I would like to interject, Leonard.
Yes.
The new COVID booster will be ready probably
Yes.
next week.
Yes.
And everybody can take the COVID booster shot along with the flu shot. Walgreens should have it ready next week, and you could always call there. Okay?
Thank you. And
Thank you.
I appreciate you saying that,
Sure.
Marge. And she's absolutely right. You know, that's one of the things, along with the recommendations, I think the FDA or whoever have approved that new,
COVID booster.
yes,
It's
the
the
COVID
third
booster.
booster shot. they're
yes.
calling it.
I don't think they're targeting the more younger group, but certainly people my age, and we need it. We need it. I seen a smile, but it's okay. That's it. Thank you.
I do think it's
Thank
very
you, Leonard.
ready.
Okay.
What I heard.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought 6 months and up. That's
Yes.
how, yeah.
That's
Well, I can tell you, I won't be giving my 6-month-old. I don't even have a 6-month-old, but if I did, I probably wouldn't hit them with that virus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Public Safety, Mr. Minchuk.
No report.
Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
There'll be a BZA action later on in the meeting, Mr. President.
Parks and Recreations, Mrs. Uzelak.
Yes, I've been driving around checking on all the parks in Merrillville. They are still up to par, and I believe Torrance will do some type of winterizing on the grass. Am I correct?
I
They
believe,
usually do before.
I believe so. I will double check though. But
Okay.
I believe so, yes.
Sometimes during autumn, they do.
Yeah.
And the kids are all trying to use the parks before the cold weather sets in. So we had a couple of parties out there in the Fourth Ward, and the parks are up to par. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Abandoned and Blighted Properties, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Mr. Pettit.
Mr. President, I need to get, again, with Jeff and Leonard. We had a bit of a delay in some information we were trying to get from Torrance, so I need to get with you guys, Jeff and Leonard, probably getting back to that fourth Thursday of the month, if that's okay, at 4:30, which, trying to scramble my brain, I think it's the 28th. But I'll get with Linda and Michael, and we'll get it scheduled, and then Lisa, I'll come see you guys for agenda items, okay?
The date's accurate, the 28th.
28th, at 4:30.
Yeah, 28th
Michael, if you
works.
could make a note of that for Linda, we'll meet up at Dean and Barbara White Community Center inside the Mike Anderson Event Center. Lisa, if you can get us a room, you or Barb?
Yeah.
Okay, is that okay, Leonard, you 4:30?
Absolutely.
All right,
Yes, sir.
okay, that's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Special Projects, Mr. Hardaway.
Nothing at this time, Mr. President, but if there's anything that, there's a couple events that we need to do after the first of the year. I think that, with the new council coming in, they should start thinking about what they want to do. And more importantly, like with the Black History Dinner, if they're going to have one or not, they need to start formulating a plan for that, as opposed to, we did it kind of like, we shot from the hip last year. And the person that generated the most income for us last year, or this year, is no longer with us. So they may have to take a different approach. But that's just something, probably at the next meeting, I will announce a committee meeting to start formulating a plan for that.
Mr. Hardaway, can you update the council on how Dr. Lackey's doing? I know we've had numerous meetings with department heads, and he's forming his committees for the diversity program.
I haven't been
You haven't talked?
I haven't been kept up to date on what he's
Okay.
doing. Nobody's told me anything.
We'll get an
Other than one email early on.
Okay, maybe we'll ask Michael to talk to Dr. Lackey and get us a update.
Mr. President, this is for
White.
Richard, actually. Do we have any additional information on a food and beverage tax? Nothing, just what we got, right? It was passed, but have we started receiving any dollars for it yet?
We haven't
passed it.
we haven't done anything as a council.
Okay,
So that's the reason why. A decision hasn't been made whether or not the council will move forward with it.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
State only passed the opportunity for us to proceed if
But
we
they gave us,
choose to.
they authorized us though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. White, would you update us, please, on what's going on with the Lake County Solid Waste Management District?
Yes, we finally had a meeting. This meeting actually had been postponed since May 18th, because we only meet bi-monthly. So we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot going on, specifically in the terms of employees. We had a couple of employees that actually tendered their resignation at the same time, and for whatever reason. These were long-term employees, by the way. And I guess things change wherever you go in the world these days. But before they could actually give their 2 weeks, they were terminated before they got a chance to get fired. So I think looking at that overall, they were the educational team. So I will be discussing, I know Vern sits on the CAC. I'll probably talk to him a little bit more about it, but in the terms of trying to get somebody out there to educate these kids about environmental education, we need to get back to full circle with that. Additionally, I just want to give a quick brief on the compost operations. Currently, they have 2,500 cubic yards of material at the facility, and they sold 193 cubic yards for a price of $1,992. That's the first time, $1,992. That is the first time that I've known that they've made some money off the compost facility, which is good. I think some of it would be available, or this enriched compost would be available to municipalities or people that want to do planters and flowers of that nature. The household hazardous waste will begin, I believe, September 13th, I believe it is, at the Lowell High School, junior high school in Lowell, for the household hazardous waste collection. All the communities have turned in their recycling grants applications. I think what we decided to do was, instead of saying we're going to give you one at the beginning of the year, and then we're going to give you one in 6 months, so we just went ahead and gave us the $200,000, Mike. We had $200,000. So additionally, and then there was a modification of the Human Resource and Policy Procedure Handbook. And I believe that's it, Mr. President. Thank you. No, one more thing. This is for Matt. I appreciate what you did, Matt, over there in Barkley Village. It's a lot safer now. People can actually see when you go in there, your kid won't run down there and the ball, chase that ball down that hill. So you did a great job, and the people not bugging me no more. So thank you for that. Okay. That's it.
Thank you. Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Mr. Hardaway.
Our meeting is next week, Mr. President.
Oh, okay, Rich, thank you. Stormwater Management Resources, Mr. Lake.
Yeah, real quick, I want to thank the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. At their last board meeting, they officially approved funding for the Hickory Ridge Lake Apartment Regional Basin Project. That's close to $1 million in funding coming to us, and we're going to put this project out for bid late fall, and the contract can start as early as this winter. We also, with regards to the Kaiser Ditch Lateral Stormwater Drainage Project, we're about, I'd say 85, 90% done. NIPSCO is working, or supposed to be working this week on the gas lines. Take about a week to relocate them in order for us to put a few last sections of box culverts on. The roads are paved, everything's passable, so that project's moving along nicely right now. We even had Howard's Tree Service go through, and they're doing ditch maintenance along that whole corridor. And they're also doing ditch maintenance, and they actually completed it in Chapel Manor Ditch. 69th in Connecticut, we're preparing bid documents through VS Engineering. The grant agreements were all completed. The school just has to sign off on those. They don't have an issue with them. It just has to be an official signature and recording of that easement. And same thing with the Ross Township trustee and with Mr. Blackman, explain the project. We need a small easement where Skinner Pond is located in order to put the outlet pipe in. Country Club subdivision, I met with the Robinson Engineering today. They have a kickoff meeting for engineering for the entire subdivision, so that project is moving along. And you mentioned Barkley Village. We also added some safety signage as well, and I think that'll help deter people from going in there. And there's a nice, a safe view of that water body. And again, safety is number one concern with all these types of projects.
So, Mr. Lake, who should maintain that moving forward? Is that actually part of the Barclay Village, or is that the town's
It's
responsibility?
privately owned. The owner does not live in Merrillville, and we have tried to get in touch with the owner. We sent a notice of violation, several other documents along with that, and have not had a response yet. So it's probably going to be, you have to turn over to legal in order to look at, the future demise of that particular parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lake, I have a question.
Sure.
Mrs. Uselak.
Was the Lake County Surveyor's Office involved with the maintenance on, in Kaiser Ditch?
This is the part that we're doing, the ditch that runs parallel to actual Kaiser Ditch is, we call it Taney Ditch. So this is a lateral, yeah, so this is a lateral to Kaiser Ditch, so, but we should get in touch with Bill Emerson in order to look at some maintenance for Kaiser Ditch itself. It's been a while. I know they come around usually 8 to 10 years, somewhere in there.
No, they were around a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I called them, and I think we will need them again, but I did not know if they were doing anything with you.
Yeah, I think the last time they came through was kind of like just taking care of some emergency issues, not a full-blown maintenance suite. So,
Sure.
So we'd like to see that for sure. So I'll talk to Bill Emerson.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Matt. Moving on to the Fire Territory Board, I'm Mr. Minchuk and Mrs. Neal.
I have nothing, Rhonda. Do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Department, Mr. White.
I'm sorry. I just had a question for Costas, Chief Costas. I know I got an email from him last week, a couple of days ago, and I just wanted to say that I'm supporting what you do when it comes to those animals. I know you're an animal lover, and if you have any issues with that, feel free definitely to contact me, specifically because it happened in my complex. So I wanted to make sure that he understood that I support what he does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, department reports, Parks Department. Lisa.
Just County McChristian, we'll be holding a volleyball tournament this Saturday, September 16th. We're going to do one more cruise night on September 23rd from 5 to 9. We are holding the third Entrepreneur and Business Workshop will be held on Saturday, September 16th from 10 to 12. And our guest speaker for that is, I believe it's Ty Creighton. We're going to have some AAU tryouts for boys on September 23rd from 11 to 4. And then the 94 feet AAU tryouts for boys will be September 30th from 10 to 3. The Lady Gym Rats AAU tryouts will be on September 23rd. Registration will start at 11 a.m. And grades 3 and 7 will take place from 12 to 1:30. And grades 8 through 11 registration will be at 1, and then their tryouts will be from 2 to 4. And starting October 6th, the center will be hosting adult volleyball leagues through December 15th. And we are starting Howard's Martial Arts Academy, and their grand opening is September 18th at our center, and it will be every Monday and Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. So that's what's going on with us for right now.
Thank you. Police Department, Chief Nusis.
Thank you, Mr. President. We initiated our Speed Blitz program, which consisted of several 2-hour blocks of traffic enforcement. So far, we have a total of 8 hours that we actually enforced, and we ended up netting 43 tickets, 19 warnings, 1 traffic arrest, and 2 vehicle impounds. This is something that we plan on continuing. We took the information that we had previously. We also took the information that we gathered from the speed signs, and we put them together, and we came up with several different areas that needed to be addressed. So in the process of doing this, we also stumbled upon some other issues that need to be addressed. And as a result, we're going to be doing some targeted operations via a crime suppression unit. Same idea. And it's not just going to be randomly going out and pulling people over and hoping to get the big arrest. It's actually intel that's gathered on some of these people that are causing problems within the town. Another thing I want to warn everybody about, there is a new scam that has come out. Now, this is some that I always make mention of. It's the new Walgreens scam where they're calling you and they're telling you that they have a way to get you a discounted rate on your prescription medicine. It's an automated service, and they try to get you to give their information, and it actually even comes up with the Walgreens phone number, so don't give any personal information out. Call your actual Walgreens and speak to somebody. They just started recently. Last thing I have, we've got a spike in juvenile runaway cases, and we have limited solutions. So we're planning on meeting with we're trying to set up a meeting right now with the Lake County Juvenile Justice Division to see if we can come up with some type of happy medium as to what we can do with these runaways.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. White.
Yes, Chief Constable. What I've noticed with all the multiple Illinois license plates, I noticed that, unless I missed it, I didn't see an expiration date on those plates. Is that why you think they're not trying to change them over, because they don't have an expiration on them?
I'm not sure why they're doing it. They have 60 days to change over their plates once they get here. And if they don't do it, they're subjected to get ticketed. But one of the issues that we're having is a lot of the places that they're moving into aren't keeping track as to who's living there. So we don't know if they're living there, we don't know if they're visiting, so it's been kind of hard to enforce those.
Mm-hmm. So versus like when in Indiana, when you see a plate that expired, you can't see the same thing on the Illinois plates?
Yeah, you can see it, and of course, if we see them, we pull them over and we stop them, but if they're parked and they're expired, there's nothing we can really do with them.
Okay, thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you. Planning and Building Department, Ms. Shine.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a couple announcements regarding our comprehensive plan. The steering committee will meet Wednesday, September 20th at 6 p.m. at the Dean and Barbara White Center, Event Room 2, and the Momentum Community Committee will meet the following day, Thursday, September 21st, also in Event Room number 2. There will be a big discussion in both of those meetings regarding the July workshop concepts. And I'd like to ask everyone to mark their calendars for the open house, which will take place Thursday, October the 5th, from 5 to 7 p.m. That's my announcement regarding the comprehensive plan going forward.
Thank you, Sheila. Street Department, Mr. King.
A couple things. Our 86th Avenue project, road expansion project that runs between Broadway and Merrillville Road, be nearing completion at the end of the month. Been working with NIPSCO on getting some lighting put up out there. It's quite dark, but I've been in talks with them for a while now about that. Our department, we continue to pick up branches throughout the town. The chippers are down right now, but we're picking them up by hand and using backhoes. Hopefully we'll have the chippers up and running here quickly. We're doing some asphalt patching and crack sealing, getting those things done. We'll probably the end of the month we'll discontinue the branch pickup so we can start the leaf vac program. That's always big for us. We got to get geared up for that. We'll pick up the straggler branches, as we need to. We'll get that stuff taken care of. I want to mention real quick, I've been talking with NDOT and Canadian National Railroad. They are still planning on doing the crossing on Broadway, probably towards the end of the month. That's when that's going to take place. We'll have a meeting with first responders, with the schools. When we decide when they're going to do it and how they're going to do it, we'll let everybody know. We'll let the council know. We'll get any detour routes posted up on the website. I just talked to them yesterday, and they are still planning on doing it. As you remember, they were going to do it last year. We even had the signs put up, and the railroad did not get an NDOT permit, so they had to pull that job, and they're going to do it this year. Other than that, that's all I have.
One question,
Mr.
Mr. King.
Hardaway.
Sir.
Where are we at with the permit for the bus shelter at Strax?
That,
I know it's NDOT, but do you have any more information on that?
they know, I got an email from that gentleman, and NDOT actually reached out to him. He's got an NDOT permit.
So he's ready to go?
He should be good to go. That's, it's out of our jurisdiction. He reached out to NDOT permitting. He's got a permit number, so there shouldn't be
All right.
anything holding him back.
Okay. Well, I mean, and for everyone's concern, they're going to they're moving the bus stop from Andrean property to Strack property. And that's going to happen here within the next, hopefully by the end of, I'd say, October.
Good.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem.
Mr. White.
Yes, thanks, Steve, as well for the digital traffic signal. I notice now that when I'm riding behind vehicles, they are on Harrison Street off 59. They are slowing down.
It scares, it gets their attention.
It does. I think they think it's take a picture, but whatever it takes a Costa picture, I'm sure it's digital. Additionally, I still want to talk about as we talk about how dark it is in these communities. It just doesn't make any sense how dark it is out there. And it's not just my area, but I'm talking about my area right now.
Yeah.
I think that's something you and I had discussed a little bit. I want to get back.
2.5 years to get 3 lights on Adams Street.
Right.
I mean, that's
I
what
don't know why they slow.
it's crazy.
Additional, I think, man, you also talked about the bridge on 61st Avenue. It seems to drop a quarter of an inch or so. As soon as you go over it, you can feel it, or when you're going up, it's humped like it's a speed bump, actually. And I think you said you were going to talk to IDOT. Is that IDOT?
No, that's ours. Well, the bridge is the county's. Yeah, I've reached out to Dwayne Alverson about that. He is actually on vacation and hasn't returned my call. But what has happened, 61st Avenue, right before you get to I-65, is the bridge approaches have settled. And that it can be fixed. We can put some asphalt in there to lessen it. But that's pretty common, after 15 years or so, the things start to settle and they need a little bit of maintenance, but that's where we're at with that.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Mr. Mitchell.
Steve, I saw a couple days ago, I drove past and I saw you had the Turkey Creek entrance done, so I wanted to thank you for that. I appreciate it very much. It looks very nice. The neighbors, I haven't heard any complaints yet. What further do we have planned for there? And then anything on the trail sign, the Sauk Trail sign?
So I actually had landmark signs out, and he took some pictures and measurements of the sign that's at the museum.
Right.
And he's working on a cost where he's gonna replicate that
Okay,
sign.
cool.
So we can leave the original at the museum and put something up, down the street there at Van Buren.
Sounds good.
So I'm just waiting on him now, so yeah,
Sounds good. Just keep me in the loop. Thank you.
gotcha.
Mr. Griffin, interim town manager report.
Mr. President, members of the council, Madam Clerk Treasurer, Reverend Clergy, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I will reduce and memorialize some of my remarks in a written report consistent with the requests I had during my interview on onboarding, but I'll be brief this evening. Firstly, I'm still onboarding. I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot to sort of consume in a little bit of time, but I have to say that everybody has treated me with not just welcome, but professional dispatch. And things have been moving along well. I've attended already a stormwater board meeting and met its president, got a tour of the facilities, and I was aware of many of your department leadership who are very talented as a team. It has allowed me they're doing their job so well, it's allowed me a great deal of time to drink that water from the fire hydrant. We will resume the practice that had been in place prior to my coming on board, which is the meetings on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. I believe a notice went out to all the department leadership, so we'll be meeting in the regular place at the regular time. Based on whatever we've received from you, that we have any action items from that, and also to talk about some things that are on my mind as we move forward, and then to hear what may be on theirs. I think that covers everything that I would think is appropriate for this, and again, I'll memorialize these. I will file with Madam Clerk Treasurer an original copy, and I'll have copies provided to each of the members for their reading enjoyment. And if there's no questions of me, I will take my seat.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everyone.
Although unusual, we have no general orders this evening. There's no first reading ordinances or second reading ordinances. We also have no resolutions on the agenda. So we'll move down to the American Rescue Plan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that the American Rescue Plan voucher for $6,627 to be approved at this time.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of the accounts payable voucher for the ARP funds. $6,627.
You also have 200,000. Are you doing it
One
separately?
second, please, before
One
we
sec.
call for the vote.
You also have, you have two, remember? I told you.
I know, you said there was two. Don't everybody have to sign them or just me?
Everybody has to sign them, but you only asked for the motion for one.
Oh, okay. There's a, this is all I got. What is this one for?
That's the original one. The 6,000 was what came in late. $200,000.
200,000.
208. Do you see it?
208.
What is that for?
That's the original APR request that you had. The $6,000 is what came in late.
Where's the form? Where's this?
I don't know why Linda didn't put it in. I don't know.
Do we have this available to us?
I would have to see this one. I'm not gonna, we can't approve this one because I have no idea what that is.
Okay, so the 200,000 would probably is the original APR vouchers that you signed. The $6,000 is what was signed after the deadline, so that was done on a separate sheet. I don't know why Linda didn't give it to you.
I don't, but I'm not remembering that one. That's my question, because I don't have a sheet like this that tells me what it is.
Do you have it? Let me see if Angie has one in the back, because, yeah, all of your big things are on this one.
Well,
Let me see if she's gonna see it.
Can they
See
be
if she has
approved
it.
separately, though, so we can move forward, Kelly? Is that okay?
Yeah, but if you don't approve it today, they won't get paid.
No, I mean, we need to do it separately anyway. Let's do this one.
That's all your PVs. Those are the ones you signed originally.
okay. All right.
So do you want it to make the motion?
Okay, I make a motion that, I make a motion that we approve the second ARP voucher of $208,600.
We have a motion on the floor, Mr. Hardaway, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
You can amend your motion, or we can
I'll
vote on
amend
the
my
first one.
motion to combine the $6,627 with the second one that I just received here for September the 12th of $208,614.44. So that's my motion, to combine both of those together.
Your second stand, Mr. Pettit?
What are the additional costs?
The additional cost is,
The original the original vouchers that he originally signed, which is our greeters, all of those things, all of the original APVs were $208,000, $208,614.44. There was another additional $6,627 that was signed after the deadline, so it had to be placed on a separate claims list, and I'm not sure why.
This says 6627.
Yeah, the
All right.
667 came in late, so the original was 200 and something.
that's that plus this one.
There's two different vouchers.
Any other
Vote, Mr.
discussion?
President.
Any other discussion?
I think Sean
No.
seconded.
I second it. Yeah, it stands.
Let's do a roll call. Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
I'm sorry. Mrs. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
No. 6 ayes, the motion carries. Moving on tonight to Board of Zoning Appeals and Large Gathering Actions. We have the Merrillville Solar LLC by Light Source BP. Ms. Shine.
Yes, Mr. President, I think Attorney Anderson is in the audience. This is a variance of use approval for Merrillville Solar LLC by Light Source BP. Petitioner is seeking a variance of use approval from Section 21-136 to allow a solar farm in an M1 and an M2 zoning district. Light Source BP would like to develop a solar farm LightSource has an approach to the project development known as responsible solar, which means that they work hard to make it a positive for the community. Solar farm as a use is not listed in the Merrillville zoning ordinance. The land use does not create a permanent change to the land. This has fewer impacts other than other permitted uses. Installation of the project requires relatively minor land disturbance compared to other uses such as warehouses, residential subdivisions. The solar farm will include a buffer zone around the perimeter of the trees and shrubbery. Agriculture-style fence with wood posts would be installed. All solar panels are recycled. Once installed, the project has few moving parts and requires minimum maintenance. Petitioner says that the project will support the general welfare of the community with new revenue and improved land health. The vote at the August 23rd, 2023 meeting was 5 approved with the conditions of screening. Perimeter of the area containing the solar panels are viewable from adjacent property. Residents will be screened by appropriate vegetation. Glare. Solar panels will be designed and installed to prohibit glare from being directly toward vehicular traffic on the road adjacent to any project or other habitable portion and any adjacent structure. Height. The height of the solar panel will not exceed 16 feet. EPA compliance. All solar panels installed on this project will be required to meet the test protocols established by the Environmental Protection Agency. Setbacks. No solar panels in required yard setbacks. Abandonment. If a solar project ceases to perform its original intended function for more than 12 consecutive months, the petitioner or its successor shall remove the collection, mount, and associated with the equipment and facilities from the property no later than 90 days after the end of the 12-month period. Number 7 and final condition, no battery storage on this property.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve. What is our number here, Sheila?
I'm sorry. It is
Variance of use approval for discussion, Mr. President.
Z15 UV2 0723.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mr. Hardaway for approval of the Merrillville Solar LLC by LightSource BP variance of approval. Open for discussion.
Mr. President, these parcels are in my ward on Colorado Street, on Clay Street, and back of Polycon and Modern Forge. And one thing that I want to applaud Richard and his client, LightSource BP, we had 3 meetings on this project. We had the initial BZA meeting, we had a workshop, and then we had another BZA meeting. Approximately 43 certified letters went out because of the variety of ownership out in this area. In fact, I see one of the residents in the audience tonight, Mr. Shellhart. One of the things that LightSource BP was willing to do was they withdrew an 80-acre, Richard? The hearing farm at 97th and Grand Boulevard.
160.
Because of the remonstration. And I solely supported all my constituents on that. It does reduce, and Jackie Kitchen is here as well, it does reduce the investment. Initially, the investment was going to be, and hold on to your hats, guys, $100 million on these 3 parcels. However, Jackie or Richard, I don't know if you have a new number on the investment with the 2 large tracts on Clay in Colorado.
I don't think we do yet, but
Okay.
it'll be substantial. Obviously, you can tell that because there's still 300 acres plus.
Right.
And it's all in an M1, M2 zone. So it's basically industrial property to begin with. It's a low energy use. We did have another, by the way, a town council workshop for most of you except Mrs. Neal in July. So if you remember that, this is the same project that we talked about way back then. And now it's just been that the residential portion has been taken out and all of this is industrial.
And I believe, Richard, if I'm not mistaken, and Sheila, correct me, the remonstration came from the residents along Grand Boulevard, 97th Avenue, for that parcel. I don't believe we really had a lot of remonstrators on the Clay or Colorado side.
No, it was only on the residential.
The residential zoning portion, which again, as we refer to it as the hearing farm out there.
So, Mr. Pettit, the way I understand this, and Mr. Anderson, we're really not even going to see this farm, are we? The way it's going to be bermed with trees outlining the property, et cetera?
No, there's screening along the edges, and then it's fenced in, inside after the screening is where the
Right.
fencing is.
Okay,
And it's quiet,
yeah, I guess so.
And a lot less traffic than another industrial user like Modern Forge or whatever, so it's good for the traffic flow too.
And Mr. Pettit and I actually had an opportunity to view solar panels, sample solar panels out at the Carpenter's Open House.
Yes. Mhm.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, as I had pointed out to the constituents that came to the meeting, the R1, and they preferred to have this. I said, ladies and gentlemen, you could have a residential subdivision on that 80 acres of the Hearing Farm.
160.
And they didn't, that wasn't their issue. They did not want to see that out there. And so again, I applaud Jackie and Lighthouse for pulling that. The no battery comes from a recommendation by our Fire Chief, Ed Yurga. These lithium batteries, there have been reports across the country that they can be dangerous, and Ed and Jim Lilly said, we don't have the expertise or the equipment to fight a lithium battery fire should something happen in a building. So again, they were willing to pull that off, trying to be a good neighbor, but yet making a substantial investment out in the Panhandle.
And luckily, there's a substation on on Harms Road behind the Albanese plant that kind of sits way back in on a driveway. That's kind of the key to all this.
Any other discussion from the council?
I have a question. So originally, this was going into a residential area?
They had a parcel, yes, Rhonda, that was going to be on the north, the northeast corner of 97th and Grand Boulevard. In fact, Matt is in the process of moving a ditch that is right up against Grand Boulevard. You're going to move it over 30, 40 feet, Matt? Correct. So that people don't drive off into this ditch. And it's been farmland for, I don't know, John, how long has that been farmland?
Ever since the town was incorporated, over 80 years, for sure.
Yeah, so it's always been agricultural out there.
I do think I did sit on one of those meetings.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. President.
Mr. White?
Two questions, actually. I know when I was in that meeting, you guys were talking about battery storage, which was part of how that worked. Once the solar cells generated energy, they would store them in those batteries. So without the batteries being there, how does that impact the?
That's why I mentioned the substation a minute ago, because you have the substation that's behind the Albanese. That's where it can hook into the grid at.
So that's going directly into the grid.
And then it can be pulled off the grid, at a different spot if they want to pull it off.
Okay.
Not that I'm an expert on electricity, I'm not, but I can tell you can pull electricity off the grid and you can put it on the grid.
Second question I had, I know that initially there was a talk from, whenever I see BP, I figure they got a lot of money. However, I think part of that was Merrillville got revenue of $1 million. Is that still on the
Yes.
table?
Well, again, you've reduced the size of the project, so it may not be $1 million, but it'll be a substantial tax revenue.
Yeah,
Yes.
just for FYI for the rest of the council and my redevelopment commission members, definitely the Colorado site on the west side of Colorado is in the Mississippi Street TIF district, so we'll actually get 100% of that money, Leonard. I'd have to check with Michael on the boundaries in back of Modern Forge and Polycon to see
I don't think-
where
I
the
don't
Mississippi
think the
Street
Clay
TIF
Street
goes, Rich. I don't know if it's in, I think
No.
it's just the one parcel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want my honest opinion, I initially thought that $1 million was too low, to be honest with you. So that's why I asked. But now I see you cut that in half, so I think that's 500,000, I guess, or 750.
Yeah, there's still discussion with regard to tax incentives, but that comes later if this goes forward.
Okay.
There's a lot of moving pieces here.
Sure. Oh, I didn't know solar cells move, but Thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anything else from the council? Hearing none. Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mrs. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Bello?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
7-0, motion carries, Mr. Anderson. Good luck with your project, Ms. Kitchen.
So our next petitioner is Cody R. Walness. He's in the audience. Step up to the podium. Petitioner is requesting special exception approval for a tattoo studio and art gallery. The studio and art gallery would be located at 2460 West Lincoln Highway in the C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District. After 20 years in the industry as a traveling artist, he wants his own studio. Petitioner has completed his yearly training of the bloodborne pathogen as well as the artists who will be working within the studio. Petitioner practices all the safety procedures of the industry. Petitioner follows the Indiana State Health Department law that governs tattooing in Indiana. This includes that anyone under the age of 18 must be accompanied by and have a written permission from a parent or guardian. All needles must be sterilized and designed for single use. Artists will wear sterile gloves during the procedure. Any and all surfaces that come in contact with the client's skin will be sanitized. Standard cleaning practices, all clients must provide identification and fill out a form. The studio will be known as Easy Tiger Tattoo LLC. The hours of operation are Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. The studio will be closed on Sunday and Monday. Current artists work almost exclusively by appointment. There will be approximately 3 to 4 artists. And this is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only.
Thank you.
What are you next to?
A cigar store and a coin store.
Oh, the art store?
Yeah, the Arc. I'm in the next strip right there. I
Oh,
would be,
okay.
Potentially.
All right. I was just curious if you were in my ward.
Yeah. I do have a question for you. In terms of disposal of the needles, how would you do that?
So we actually have like Sharps containers that
Okay.
everything goes in, and then we
Okay.
have a medical disposal company that comes and
Cool.
retrieves everything.
Thank you. That's
No
what's the
problem.
question.
What is the going price on these tattoos?
You gonna get you a
well-
tattoo?
No, I just wondered. I see so many of them out there.
Sure. I mean, it just depends on what you get, but minimum is $100 or $150. So it just kind of goes anywhere up from there, you know? So it just kind of depends on how elaborate you get on the design or how much
How
coverage, I
high?
suppose.
How high do they go?
I mean, thousands,
Okay.
you know, so.
So you do have good parking space there, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion from the council?
No, hearing no problems, I will make a motion to approve the tattoo parlor at 2450-2490 West 81st Avenue.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Uselak, a second by Mr. Minchuk for approval. Open for discussion.
They're free if you guys want them for the council.
Should be free if you put that seal on.
Only thing I'd like to add is I know we had a gentleman here before
Sure.
with a tattoo/art studio. Also wanted to get involved with the community. I know we have our community center and our art program, so
Yeah.
any participation would be greatly
Oh,
appreciated.
yeah, we'd
Thank
love
you,
to.
sir.
We'd love to. I've actually spoken in front of like the high school before and college stuff and taught classes and art classes, so.
Great.
Anything you guys need, let me know. I'd love to participate.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else from the council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mrs. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Bello?
Yes.
7 in favor.
7-0, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank
Welcome
you,
to
Ms.
town.
Shine. Sheila was great.
Mr. Pettit will be in for his tattoo.
Ready when you guys are.
Moving on tonight to old business. Any old business before us?
Mr. President?
Mr. White.
Yeah, I just want to bring back up a little bit about the gang graffiti on 61st at the old Pancake House. It's still there.
Mr. King. Mr. King,
Yes.
graffiti?
Yeah, we were
61st
reaching
Avenue?
out to David Israel.
He doesn't own that.
We haven't heard,
He doesn't.
he doesn't own that anymore?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, he does.
Mr. Israel
He owns
does
that property.
own that part of it, and we have reached out to him,
We
Mr.
have.
President, regarding, and Mr. Councilman White, regarding moving the graffiti. And we were trying to give him an opportunity, but I guess Steve and I are gonna have to go down
We'll do
there
it. Sheila and I will
Did
take
it
care
last
of
time.
it.
Take care of it.
Let's loop in Joe. We've given Mr. Israel passes, I don't know how many
Yeah.
times. This was brought up by Mr. Hardaway
Yeah.
about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we're still
Yep.
dealing with the issues.
I was going to say,
We need-
Sheila,
we need
his
to expedite.
attorney just left the council chambers.
He did.
Yeah, so let's have Joe call Mr. Anderson and
Yep.
let's, this is a little bit of paint on a building. Let's get it
Yeah,
fixed.
we'll get, in the meantime, we'll get it covered up.
If not, I mean, we can go ahead and we can paint the building and file a lien against his property then, if he wants that.
There you go.
I mean, I'll try to.
Work
reach
it out and get it done, please.
I'll try to reach out and make sure the property owner takes care of it.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Additionally, the container sitting on US 30 by Patilio's or Take 5, it still has gang graffiti on it as well. It's a storage container.
So we don't know who owns that. We've been ever since we target all of the storage containers, we found owners for those, but we don't know who owns that.
Mr. Lake could find out the owner of that property for us, I bet.
I sure can. I could try to dig it out. I've seen that too, next to the Take 5. It's a vacant lot.
The vacant lot that's owned by, it was owned by Dr. Kendera.
Yeah.
No, it's owned by his heirs,
kids.
His heirs.
Yeah, his kids. I met his two daughters we had an event for the chamber at the country club.
No, they don't own they don't know who put that there.
Well, yeah, I mean, what, you know.
Let's get it removed
Can we
then.
pull
And
it?
they're trespassing, it's
Can-
trespassing.
Trespassing.
Impounded or something.
No different than the the closed donation boxes ordinance we wrote for people dropping those in the books and that, right, Joe?
Right, I mean, at the
Have it
end of
pulled.
the day.
Let's pull
Send
it.
the letters to the
Chief-
Kendera girls and
Chief
have it
Hughes doesn't
pulled.
get involved, so.
Okay, thank you for letting the people not set up territory for us. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you. New business, any new business tonight?
Mr. President, I'd like to request a point of personal preference, if you don't mind.
Please.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to thank all the council members, all the town employees, everybody who's reached out to myself and my family over the last couple of weeks with thoughts and prayers. It means a lot to us, and just wanted to express my thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Are you giving us checks or anything? Are you giving us any money or anything?
No money,
Oh,
sir.
okay, just checking.
Mr. President, are we still on new business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you done, Mr. Minchuk?
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
he.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, was he done? I just wanted to bring back up that we had talked about the Honorable Don Goldenspan street sign. I didn't know if we needed to take a vote on that, but I definitely want his wife to know that we're still trying to work on that.
Would you mind working with Mr. King, Leonard, and see about designing a sign, what size that needs to be? It was going to go underneath the regular street name, I believe, and let's see what we could do to get that done.
Thank you. So I don't need to make a motion
Just
on it.
report back to us, would you mind?
Okay, thank you, I'll get on it right away. That's it, Mr. President.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr.
Mrs. Usler.
President. People are asking me, is the Golden Corral on Broadway going to open?
No,
No?
No.
Not at all? Okay.
I don't believe so.
No,
No, that's-
ownership has problems.
Yeah.
The owner has
His
problems?
hands are tied right now,
He got
right?
charged with murder.
What?
Yeah.
He got charged?
We'll move on. That's,
Oh, my goodness. I didn't.
moving on to Public comment tonight. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and we allow 3 minutes for a public comment.
Sabina Miller, 3120 West 75th Place. As I was listening to the individuals that may not register because they live somewhere but they don't change the license plate, and the same thing for Sauk Elementary and a child molester moving in next door to an elementary school, as we know. I would like to make a recommendation. So the rental registration process, usually in most municipalities, asks to list every resident at the property, and that includes children. If I go and register in Gary somebody, I have to list everybody who lives there. There's also a maximum number of occupants allowed. And if I change residence mid-year before the next registration, I have a requirement to come back and make the updates and tell the city of Gary exactly who lives at that address. And I would think if Merrillville maybe adopts that, maybe we can get a little bit more of a handle on who actually occupies or should be occupying the property. So that's my recommendation. That may also help if we have somebody move in, like this gentleman that was just taken out on Taney Place, just around the corner from me. So who had, 3 felony counts of child molestation and lived right next to Sauk Elementary. So I was a little concerned about that, how this gentleman actually managed to live there and nobody knows about it, that he moved in there. But I think that may be a recommendation for rental registration that I have.
Thank you.
And, yeah, that's
Brian Messarch, 201 East 68th Place. I have an issue with Sean Pettit violating Merrillville Town Ordinance. He's put up his political signs throughout the town, and that is in violation of our town ordinances. I think we need to discuss him taking those down until the appropriate time.
Mr. Bella, you want to tackle that one? Mr. Svetnoff, or maybe Mr. White wants to tackle that one?
Mr. Svetnoff should come.
Joe,
Yeah.
read the state law.
Well, not state law, is a United States Supreme Court decision and state law that he can place political signs up currently right now.
It supersedes any type of town ordinance, so our ordinance is obsolete.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. We have businesses, potential businesses come up here, and they want to argue about, or you want to press them on this ordinance and that ordinance. People want to have LED signs. You want to push them on this ordinance. But when it comes to our town ordinances, which is very clear, we pretty much do what we want. And part of the issue of us just doing whatever we want is, you know what? Now people think that stop signs and speed limit signs are suggestions. Now we think that throwing trash on the ground, that's optional. It's okay. You want to take and hold some businesses accountable for picking up trash and other businesses for not picking up trash. And there's always an excuse for not following the rules. And we can go through just the section of the ordinances about having, say, a vice president. That's made up. There is no thing in the town ordinance about vice presidents. We do have a lot of things about an approval is an aye. In order to vote on something, it says in the ordinance to say aye. There's no other option. But Mr. Svetnoff wants to joke around that, oh, we got court cases that say we can say whatever we want. So when do we start following the rules and when do we not follow the rules? When do I have to cut my grass? And when is it just a suggestion when I'm getting ticketed because my grass is too big?
Ordinance is void under state law, Mr. Message. I thought I was clear.
What's that?
The ordinance is void under state law and U.S. Supreme Court decision.
Well, then maybe you ought to do something about removing this. I don't know. I'm assuming that you.
We're in the process of doing that.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion. We'll take it under advisement.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
It's just like the graffiti on the Ponderosa building. That was talked about for months now. we can continue to go on with the things that we're working on.
Thank you.
I would like you to cite the Supreme Court case. What is it? Where's?
I don't think he has it on the top
Go
of his
home.
head.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
What's that?
I'll be glad to get it to you, though.
Oh, when will I get it? When can I expect that communication?
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Chris Holst, 800 West 73rd Avenue. First thing, Jeff, got a quick question. Is that dead tree program still in effect? Where they can, citizens can have some ideas? Can I get with you later? There's a person in Turkey Creek who like to take advantage of that.
Go ahead.
Also, back on August 8th, we first came to you with our little project, and we made a lot of good traction, and I want to thank everyone for that. But there's still some things that are incomplete. On that same meeting, Jeff asked that our curb be painted. As of today, it still hasn't been, so if we could get some help with that, that would be great. And also, we were looking for some type of ETA on when we can expect to have our bushes and shrubs planted. Do we have a timetable for that?
Mr. King?
Yeah, I don't have a timetable on the bushes. The curb we are planning to paint, we just been involved in other operations, more critical. It will get done, but I will find out from the, landscaper when the bushes are going in.
That would be great.
Do you heard the comment I made about the sign?
Yeah, I did, and
Okay.
that was landmark signs, you said that's?
Yeah, he was out, I don't know, probably a week or so ago, and he took pictures of the one at the museum, and we're gonna replicate that as best we can.
Do we have any idea of?
I don't even have a
that?
price to do it yet. He's
Okay.
he's looking in. I mean, I think that one at the museum, that might even be bronze. I mean, that thing's pretty stout.
Steve, just keep you in the loop when you get dates and times or estimates, whatever, and I'll relay for sure.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Steve, we had a thought on that as well. It would be nice if maybe we could have maybe a QR code added to that, where maybe people can take a picture of that, and maybe pull up a little bit of history, if that's possible. I think that would be a wonderful way of incorporating history and technology, if it's possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
QR code on the side.
Good evening. Sam Shellhart, 7200 East 93rd Avenue. I'd like to say thank you to the members of our community and our council for being here this evening. May I also start with a specific thank you to our 6th Ward Councilman, Sean Pettit, for doing everything in his power in regards to the solar project to help the members of our community with his quick and sharp response to our citizens with their concerns about this project, and working with everyone involved to come up with a productive solution. I again thank you, Mr. Pettit. On that note, I'd also like to thank the members of the BZA, along with members of this council, in continuing in their joint efforts with their constituents and keeping what is left of our beautiful town in their rural atmosphere of which it was incorporated. There are not many areas left in Merrillville like it is in the Panhandle, and it has and always will be the intentions of its residents to keep it in its natural environment for as long as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Moving on tonight to announcements, we have the Plan Commission meeting September 19th at 6:30. The RDC meeting will be September 26th at 6:15. And the next Town Council meeting is going to be September 26th at 6:30. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye or yes, or of course, whatever works.
Well, we've had a court decision on that one, too.
We did. Thank you all.
How are you, Mr.
Never watched television.
Yeah, you doing okay?